they're singing about. I am a fan. And a fan, I looked it up in the dictionary, is an enthusiastic admirer. A fan goes to a football game with no shirt and a painted chest. He or she sits in the stands and cheers for their baseball team. They've got a signed jersey hanging on their wall. They've got bumper stickers on their car. They have caps on their heads. But they are never really in the game. They never break a sweat, never take a hard hit in the field, do they? A fan hoots and cheers when things are going well, but nothing is really required of him. No sacrifice. And truthfully, if his team that he's cheering for starts to let him down, his passion can wane, and he can find another team until that one disappoints him too, which is why they invented the Chicago Cubs. A fan is an enthusiastic admirer. Now, I think Jesus had a lot of fans, and I think he does today too. Fans who cheer for him when things are going well, but who walk away when things get tough. Fans who sit safely in the stands or the pews, cheering him on, but they know nothing of the sacrifice of the field. Fans who know all about him, but don't really know him. And according to our gospel reading, Jesus was never interested in fans. And it's strange, because many churches, the church sanctuaries today, have become more like stadiums than concert halls. To Jesus, an enthusiastic admirer was not an option. Which leads me to consider why I follow Jesus' way. As a Christian, I'm simply trying to live the way he taught. I'm convinced that being generous is a better way to live. I'm convinced that forgiving people and not carrying bitterness around and anger is a better way to live. I'm convinced having compassion and pursuing peace and listening to the voices and wisdom of others and caring for our planet and being open to the more than what I can see and touch and package and analyze and market and sell. Being open to deeper things in life, which are not things, is a better way to live. Because everybody is following something. I'm just trying to follow the Jesus way. Because I believe he is the picture. He is the icon, the eternal icon of the mind and the heart and the face of God. In our gospel, Jesus talked to 3 would-be followers. I picture them on this dusty road, the great rabbi in a crowd of people, and he meets these guys, enthusiastic admirers, and Jesus basically says to them, do you want to follow the crowd or me? To the first guy, Jesus said, if you want to follow me, you're going to have to rough it. We're not staying at the best hotels. We're sleeping under the stars. We won't be chatting theology at Starbucks, but we'll be making coffee over campfires. On the way, we go where God wants us to go. Guy number 1 hesitated, and he looked around. Jesus continued, don't follow me so you can be blessed and get comfortable and put a magnetic fish sign on your car. Christianity is more than that. Jesus looked around at the crowd. He said, it's not a club, it's a commitment. I'm looking not for fans, but for followers. When Jesus asked the second guy in our gospel to follow him, he offered the same 2-word invitation, follow me, that he offered Matthew and James and John. Had that guy number 2 agreed to follow Jesus, then today we may be talking about the 13 disciples. Maybe in our Bibles we'd have 5 gospels. One named after him, the Gospel of Ralph. This would be number 5. But we don't, because he answered, first let me go and bury my father. Which is actually better translated, now is not a good time. I don't think the guy's dad was dying at all. He probably didn't even have a head cold. I think it was an excuse. Otherwise, Jesus wouldn't have answered him so harshly the way he did. When he saw Jesus coming, he probably whipped out his cell phone, went to excuses.com. Yes, there really is a place. And he learned a bunch of them. My dog ate it. My alarm didn't go off. My memory was abducted by aliens. I've used that one before. My favorite excuse, by the way, if I can digress, came from a parishioner in our last parish, the matriarch of the parish, the church lady, 91-year-old Betty. And Betty was pulled over for speeding. And the cop said, "Okay, lady, where's the fire?" And Betty said, "Why, officer, it's in your eyes." I don't know if the young man was charmed or freaked out, but he let her go. She didn't get a ticket. Jesus said to the guy's excuse, "Let the dead bury their own dead. Now is the time to follow me. Your business is life, not death. And life is urgently calling you. I am the life," he said. According to Aristotle, everything has a telos, T-E-L-O-S, a telos, a Greek word meaning an inner goal to attain. An acorn has a telos, it's an oak tree. It's what an acorn is meant to be. Birds have one, bees have one. They say that down in Boston even beans have one. Aristotle said it's part of the very structure of reality. And he didn't even know about DNA or the genome back then. Everyone has a telos. Sounds a bit abstract. Let me put it this way. When Mrs. Goldstein was walking down the street with her 2 children, a friend stopped her and asked, "How old are the children?" She replied, "The doctor is 5 and the concert violinist is 7. Everyone has a telos. And Aristotle said, the telos of human life is happiness, which sounds a bit shallow to me, even for Aristotle. I like what St. Augustine said. He said, the telos of life is to love God. Life with God. Spirit calling to spirit. Telos. That's what you are meant to do. That's who you are meant to be. And it's beautiful. So don't keep hitting the snooze button with Jesus. Don't sleep through life, because when you find him, you find life. Now the third guy, he said, "Let me say goodbye to my family." And in return, Jesus gave us the analogy of plowing a field. Of course, back then, they didn't have huge combines like we do now. They had the hand plow. And he gives us this picture of plowing the field, and the guy's looking back, and all of a sudden his lines are going crooked all over the place because he's looking back. He's not paying attention to what he's doing. He's digging crooked furrows. I think of my son Sam, who learned to ride a two-wheeler a couple years ago. Until he looked back at us, see how good I'm doing. All of a sudden he started to wobble and he'd lose his balance and he'd go off the sidewalk into the bushes. One time he ran into our car in the driveway. For guy number 3, Jesus wasn't his top priority. There was something else that had his attention. He kept looking back. To follow Jesus is to get your head out of the past. To follow his way, you don't walk to the sunset, but to the sunrise. The kingdom is never backward. It's always forward. I guess it'd be that way in Europe with you. Forward, forward. I know people who are stuck in the past, who never advance because the past holds them like chains. And they're just wallowing in self-pity. And they're not very fun to be with either. It's like hanging out with Eeyore. But Jesus can break those chains, as we heard last week in the story of the demon-possessed man of the Gerasenes. He can break those addictions, and the shame and the fear and the grief can all be dissolved with his help. Now, if you add all these Jesus vignettes together, it basically comes down to this. Be a follower, not merely a fan, because your investment determines the relationship. DTR. Now, I want to end with a short story about a small family in a small town. They had 2 kids. The daughter was in a bad accident. She needed blood. Having a rare blood type, her younger brother, who was the same type, was an ideal immediate donor. Mom and Dad stood by as the nurse crouched down in that hospital waiting room, face to face with the 8-year-old boy, to ask if he would be willing to give his blood to his sister to save her. The nervous boy thought long and hard. Finally, he said, "Yes. Yes, I will." They all went into the other room. The wide-eyed boy lay on the gurney, and the nurse began the procedure. And they huddled around his bed in support. Then they were at awe at what the little boy said next. "How long will it be," he said, "until I begin to die?" The mom, the dad, and the nurse realized the boy thought giving his blood meant giving his life. And he was willing to do it, to die for her. Sounds like another story that took place not in a hospital, but on an ancient hill called Golgotha. Jesus is committed to you. Are you a fan or are you a follower?